you ever felt stuck, wondering why you can't seem to follow through? Maybe thinking something is wrong with you, and really just wanting to move forward, considering if real change is even possible? Hello, and welcome to Books to Better Your Life. If those are questions on your mind, this is the podcast for you. I'm Anne Brinkman with Better Your Life Coaching. I'm a personal growth book junkie who loves sharing my latest reads with you so you can be inspired to make change in your life. I share my takeaways from a self-development, wellness, or psychology book, then tell you how I put them into practice, and then give you a challenge to take on when you're ready. I also interview up-and-coming self-development and wellness authors to get their take on the best action-oriented and behavior change skills you can use to tackle life's challenges. Ready for change? Let's dig in. I'm really passionate about self-development books, not because I think something is wrong with us and we need to fix ourselves, but because they give information on understanding ourselves and understanding others. And I also think self-acceptance is so key for us to be able to work from the inside out. These books give us steps and perspectives that help us to change our behavior and thoughts that then are going to impact our worlds around us, and ultimately and simply to feel better. I believe there's so much value in learning and life-changing wisdom in these books. I want to expose more of you to these ideas and increase the chance that you'll be changed by them. These really are books to change your life. Today we're reading James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. It's been on the New York Times bestseller list for 248 weeks as of this recording. This book is for you if you've ever wanted to take on something new, an exercise routine, drinking more water, staying in touch with friends, waking up earlier, studying, or if you've wanted to stop something. Take a listen. Habits can be the basis for so much behavior change. What I see in my clients is often they are beating themselves up for a lot of things. For not having motivation, for being lazy, not being able to do these things they want to. Yet sometimes all it really comes down to is them not being aware of how to develop habits. They underestimate the power of our brain's intention to stay with that safe and known. Without that knowledge of how to create a habit, it can really be an uphill battle and a discouraging battle. Now, if anyone has a superhero of self-development origin story, it's James Clear. He had a massive, potentially fatal accident while playing high school baseball. I'm not going to get into the gory details, but after he was hit in the face with a bat, he had to be airlifted and put into an induced coma. Needless to say, it took months of recovery for him. Even though he had been playing baseball since age 4, this injury was enough that he was cut from his high school team. 2 years later, he went to Denison University, where he started to build up those habits and practices that he is now known for. He started with habits of good sleep routines and tidiness, and eventually it carried over into study habits, weightlifting, and baseball practice. It sounds like he really came into his own in college and maybe was not your typical college student. These habits culminated in college with him becoming the team captain of his baseball team, the top male athlete at his university, and an ESPN Academic All-American Team member. Only 33 players across the country get that honor. The full title of his book is Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. This book is from 2018 and is born out of, obviously, his own journey with habits and the learnings that he poured into articles he wrote starting in 2012. The creation of the book is a great example of how habits can compound, since it's one article after another, resulting in this bestseller. The short summary is that our real motivation is to be lazy and do what's convenient and conserve energy. And we really need our brains on our side. While you might think all you need is some motivation and self-control, these are not the route to go. There are just a few tips you need to know about developing habits, and then you can change everything. Let's jump into my 5 big takeaways from his book. One of his ideas could be maybe the most important of the entire book, and that's the importance of small habits. As I know with most people, as I start coaching them and they get inspired to make a change, start studying for a test, or start working out, or eating healthier, and it becomes clear in what they need to do, they jump all in and say, I'm going to study an hour a day, or change everything. It sounds really doable when you're motivated. just an hour a day, I can do that. And that can work for some people. But I found they're few and far between. Even when we try to scale back to 15 minutes, there is a lot of resistance coming from our brains. No, I can do an hour. I should do an hour. And there is an attachment to wanting to be closer to how much their end goal is. And the reality is that attachment to wanting to do an hour stops it from happening at all. James focuses on two sides of the importance of small habits. One is that a little thing done time after time starts to create big results, just like how this best-selling book was created. And the other, to me, the bigger one, is how resistant our brain is to change, and the habit needs to be so small that it doesn't start ringing any alarm bells. Staying under the radar, nothing to see here. Just going to put on my gym clothes and tennis shoes every day. Maybe going to open the front door. Not even going to go out the door. Nope, nothing happening here. And then maybe one day you add on walking out the door and down the sidewalk. And once you're there, you may say, I'll go around the block. All that starts with choosing something teeny tiny. That's what makes it happen at all. And there's one example in the book of the British bike team in 2003, led by Coach Dave Brailsford. Before that point, the team had such a bad reputation that bike companies didn't even want their name affiliated with that team. They didn't want to be associated with it. So Brailsford went about incremental small changes, like changing the bike seats, changing the massage gel, looking at muscle recovery, best pillows and mattresses for the best sleep. They painted the interior of the transport vans white so they could clearly see dirt or oil or other things that might get in the way. So lots of seemingly small changes. 5 years later, 2008, they received 60% of the gold medals at Beijing Olympics. Chris Froome, one of their team members, became a 5-time Tour de France winner. In a 10-year period, they received 178 world championships, 66 Olympic and Paralympic medals. What an example of the difference in small changes. My second takeaway is around the importance of belief in identity and adopting a new habit. What do I mean by that? This is an example of how words matter. If you say or believe you are bad at something, there you go. And really, this is talking about behavior that doesn't line up with who you think you are will not last. If you imagine a smoker being offered a cigarette, replying, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit," versus a smoker who says, "No thanks, I don't smoke," one has adopted and accepted that identity, and one still believes in that old identity. Some other examples are, I'm bad at math, I'm no good with directions. When you repeat these, this becomes accepted as fact, and your brain wants to do things in line with your identity. Now, habits can help you accept a new identity by taking steps towards proving that identity. I really like James's analogy of voting. Each time you do a habit, it's a vote for an identity. Skipping it once does not mean all is lost. It's that accumulation and buildup. And how often you're doing it, how often you're voting for that identity, that's what wins. So first, decide who you want to be, and that will guide you in your habits. Some other tricks you could consider are surrounding yourself with people who have the habits you want to have yourself. That shared identity can reinforce personal identity. And maybe a little bit of that peer pressure in a positive way. If a behavior can get us approval, respect, and praise, we find it attractive. More on that later. Could you use some support in your daily interactions, either for relaxation or a confidence boost? I create a monthly recording that gets you in the frame of mind you're looking for. Maybe that's relaxation and confidence before meeting new people or before an interview. Or maybe it's helping you shift away from some negative talk. Join my recordings list at www.betteryour.life/audio. That's .life, not .com. So, takeaway number 3. We want to get to where our habits are automatic. Getting there, however, is not automatic. But when you know how to increase the chance you'll be automatic, that's where it's at. When we think about humans and what drives us to actions, it's a positive feedback loop. It's doing a behavior and getting rewarded for it, and then later anticipating that an action will lead to that reward again. So there's 4 steps that are the core of a habit: a cue, craving, response, reward. If you want the details of all those, read the book. I'm just going to focus on the cue and the reward. The cue is the thing that predicts the reward. It might be seeing something, a visual reminder, seeing a book, or hearing something like an alarm. Or it might be triggered after you do something else, like closing a door after you come in from work or wherever you're at. The cue is what prompts you to do the thing. It's really important because obviously if you forget the habit, it's just not going to be automatic. You need that trigger to start the habit. You want to get to where you automatically go into that habit when the cue comes up. And then once that habit happens, the reward is so important in making it happen again. We need some positive feeling in order to ensure that it will happen again. Think of dopamine from social media scrolling or phone notifications. The reward doesn't need to be huge. If you think about a ding from social media, those aren't big deals. This might be something simple, talking to a friend, getting to do something, etc. Our brains have a lot of input to handle, so automating things is a huge benefit. Then it can focus where it's most relevant. You probably already have a lot of things you're doing automatically and you don't have to think about, like the route you take to work or the store. Maybe you end up there without even realizing how you got there. Maybe the very first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is it going to the bathroom or stretching or checking your phone? Another automatic behavior. All right, on to takeaway number 4. Number 4 is coincidentally the 4 laws of behavior change. Law number 1, make it obvious. Your environment is key rather than motivation. Put your gym clothes where you can see them. Set out fruit and vegetables where they are visible. Law number 2, make it attractive. This is about the dopamine feedback loop. Dopamine is actually released when you anticipate pleasure, not always when you experience it. It's the expectation of a rewarding experience that motivates us to act. Back to the candy, the expectation of the sugar rush or the dopamine, or whatever feelings are associated with the sugar or chocolate. We want to tap into the pleasure we will feel here. Law number 3, make it easy. This one again is about environmental design. Again, not about motivation, it's about reducing friction. Things like an automatic withdrawal for a 401k, etc. And a rule related to this is that each new habit should take just 2 minutes. All right, law number 4, make it satisfying. We're talking about immediate satisfaction. The other 3 laws increase the likelihood the habit will happen this time. This one increases the odds it will happen next time. We most remember the ending of a behavior. Incentives help you start a habit. Identities make it last. And this one gets you through to where the long-term awards start showing up. Some examples of this are to celebrate when you complete a habit. This doesn't need to be a big thing. This is not an example of what I want you to do, but if you imagine every time you go running that you then get to have your favorite meal, that's a great encouragement to do it. So let's not start connecting potentially negative habits with this positive new one. It doesn't need to be that big. It can be as simple as saying, woohoo, swinging your arms up in the air, smiling, telling and celebrating with a friend. All right, our final takeaway, number 5, is just that 4th takeaway, but reversed. That is, how to break a habit. So let's reverse those ones we just talked about. Instead of make it obvious, make it not obvious or hide it, putting the candies or treats out of sight. Instead of make it attractive, make it unattractive. Take out that positive feedback. Is there a negative consequence you can attach it to? You let someone know you're taking on this challenge, and then there's some negative feedback from them if you continue to do it. Instead of make it easy, make it hard. Put the candy on the top shelf that you need a stepladder for, or in a box you need to unlock, or don't buy it at all. So if you want it, you need to go to the store for it. Instead of make it satisfying, make it unsatisfying. You don't get a treat at the end, or again, there is some negative consequence. So those are my 5 takeaways from the book. And now let me share about what my experience has been. I really love the ideas he presents here. As someone that does New Year's resolutions just about every year, I definitely have experience with what doesn't work in habits, which is often those big, massive changes. I appreciate that his strategies focus on small changes and how to make them more likely to happen. So, I've tried these a few times. One of the habits I really appreciated developing was a 5-minute-a-day cleaning habit. My cue was starting after dinner. I would set my Google Home timer for 5 minutes. And then I think something about being able to yell at the Google Home to stop the timer was satisfying and appealing. I kept doing this for a long time until I broke the chain with a vacation. He doesn't specifically address vacations in his book, but I would want to tap back into that idea that each time you do it is a vote for who you are. So I do look forward to starting this one again, as I really enjoyed the results from it. So one other example is quitting my excessive cell phone usage. I noticed that I couldn't really go anywhere without it and would often be checking it mindlessly. Breaking habit is in some ways the opposite of taking one on, but with different challenges. The areas that really helped me were putting my phone out of sight, and then also making it less satisfying by telling my husband I was trying to use it less, and that embarrassment or even irritation if he would call me out on using it, and wanting to avoid those. And also I found identity a key element here. I needed to remind myself who I wanted to be, who I was as someone who wasn't attached to their phone and who was making things happen and getting things done and not wasting time. I do have a 7-day challenge for anyone there who wants to try that too. My official challenge for you this week is to start a small habit this week. Just 1 to 2 minutes per day. Chain it after something you're already reliably doing. Get out a paper or Post-it that's visible or an app to track. And remind yourself who you are when you're doing it. I'm a neat person. I reach out to my friends and family. I am increasing my health. I am a healthy person. And if something like that seems a bit out of reach, maybe then I am becoming healthier. And then celebrate. I'd love to hear what habit you take on and how it goes for you. Shoot me a message via my website at www.betteryour.life. That's .life, not .com. Talk to you soon. If you enjoyed this summary or if it was useful for you, please show James Clear some love. His book is available in just about every bookstore. I mean, except for like a cookbook bookstore. Probably not in that one. I also have links to it in my show notes at www.betteryour.life/podcast. I also strongly recommend his newsletter. He puts out a weekly one, and in the current format is 3-2-1, 3 ideas from him, 2 quotes from others, and 1 question for you. I find it really inspiring. Check it out. Link to that also within the show notes. Thanks for listening to Books to Better Your Life. If you could use some support on your own personal growth journey, please reach out. I'm an ICF certified life coach, and I help my clients with habits, mindset, confidence, and making what they want happen. I'm Anne Brinkman, and you can find me at www.betteryour.life and schedule a chat.